welcome back to the next episode today. अगर आप लोग बैठ के ये चैट जीपीटी यूज़ कर रहे हो वो एआई होता है, पता है राइट? हमने मुश्किल से उसके साथ पीस बनाया है. आपको एक और दूसरा बम पटाखा सुनाओ, दैट्स Web3. For a lot of people who don't understand, by the end of this video you are going to understand what Web3 is, because we have this person sitting next to me who's been in this industry from the last 4 years, Aditi Chopra. She is this person who has started an all-women community in Web3 called a Superwomen DAO, and she has had members from all over the world and India, now sitting at 3,000 plus in her community with a social presence of more than 20,000 people across platforms, and one of the few communities that were invited to the World Economic Forum in Davos. This woman has made it happen. Let's know her journey, and by the end of this, if you're not a fan of Web3, I don't know who is going to be. I mean, I'm so floored by the fact that a woman is talking to me about Web3, but what is more surprising to me is how did a Jabalpur girl land up in this world of not tech, not the new buzzword AI, but Sida Web3? How did that happen?
I wouldn't say, I mean, of course, there have been some ups and downs, and it's been a bit of a roller coaster journey, but not very different from the track that a science student, a head girl from a school would take. Coming from Jabalpur, I was just like, hey, put me in a city with a lot of exposure and I'll make something happen. Yeah.
Nice.
And then I moved to another college, PDPU, and I was very focused that, okay, I'm not someone who wants to, I mean, I was a good student, but I didn't want to attend classes. I knew what I wanted to get done, which was, I had this really weird idea at that point that why are people still transporting, petrol in liquid form? Why don't they make it dense and just transport it in solid form? It will save so much transportation cost. That was actually a thought that I had, and it became the start to me wanting to pursue sustainability and energy and renewable energy as fields. And then obviously, of course, when I joined and I got a little bit, when I learned a little bit more, I realized it's an inflammable thing and you're making it more dense. You're risking a lot of fire and all of that. So with that thought, I studied chemical and petroleum. But with PDPU, the good thing was they had these amazing research grants. And I was really interested towards that side. Fun fact, I actually made a smart dustbin, which was in IMM, the Bud's Mess, for a year. Yeah. So the start to me really realizing that, I can build things and I can do these experiments was this MIT Media Labs India initiative. The first one happened at PDPU in Gandhinagar, and I got selected. And I was like, okay, what do I build? And sustainability was at the top of my mind. So I'm like, I'm going to build a smart dustbin where you just throw in food and it tells you how much food you've wasted in weight. And we were also trying to do this near perfect calorie calculation and all of those random stuff with that. That's when I learned the Arduino coding and this and that. So that was the start of it, where Jabalpur didn't really matter because I knew once I get exposure and once I just get to be in this free flow environment, in this massive entropy environment where I will do all of these random things, things will work out. And yes, that happened, and that's where it started. Then I went to a school in Houston, where again I did another research project, then summer internship at Cornell, then became a researcher there. So throughout my college life, I really got to travel a lot, see a lot of things, learn a lot of things, understand about behavioral marketing, and that was it. And at some point in that, I also built this thought that I want to be in the startup scene. And I want to be in Bangalore. Like, I want to be in the startup scene, but in Bangalore, nowhere else. Came back from the US. And this is actually very common in Bangalore, that you go into coffee shops and you would run into founders. And I did. I ran into Khushbu, the founder of my first startup, Karva. And it was just her and a co-founder sitting there. And they're just talking. I didn't know them. I just heard fintech, something, founder, and as naive and stupid and shameless I am, and I was. I just approached them and they were like, oh wow, this comes at a a really interesting time, because it's just the two of us co-founders. And I'm like, wow, I'm like, awesome. Then I joined them, Karva, as an ops person. Did everything, from the admin staff at the office to even opening the office a few times in the morning, all the way to figuring out the API setups on Postman. So I think that was the most accelerated journey for me when it comes to startups. That hey, okay, I'm doing these things here, then I'm also trying to see and emulate what these really smart people, Khushbu and Agam, were doing. So that happened, and then I entered fintech, and then FamPay happened after that.
Where have you learned all this from? Because I come from a B school, which is very glorified, and people over there also feel that IIT kar lo, IIM kar lo, and all of that. You learned everything by yourself.
That happened, yes. I mean,
How? No, I'm very curious in this. Like, you were always this person who's like, agar kuch, you're interested in something, you just put yourself through it shamelessly and just
yeah, I think
talk to people.
if you're someone who's like, okay, I just can't show this vulnerability about me, or I can't show this that I don't know this. I think a lot more people appreciate when they're upfront asked for help. That, hey Rudra, I think you're really good at this and I'm not. But I think I can get good at this. I might be a decent learner. Can I learn this?
And that's the basic, like nobody's going to say no for that. But that's good.
Yes, and that has largely worked out for me.
So how did Superwomen DAO come into existence for you? It's the first women community in India which is in Web3, is that right?
It is.
How did that happen?
It was absolutely serendipitous and a stroke of luck.
Huh.
So what happened is, when I entered after my agency, when I entered this space, Web3, it was very transactional for me, right? I did not enter here because I was just driven by the philosophy of this space and everything. I was here because I was doing community already, and I realized that community is a very important pillar in Web3 because it's decentralized, right?
Right.
You need people to create the narratives, to participate in the dialogues. And with that, the same work that I was doing in Web2, which would essentially be a lot of Discord, a lot of community building, and community building beyond customers and customer support and forums. It was actually creating that belongingness, creating that brand, and creating that two-way and multi-way communication. Same thing was required in Web3. And I realized it was 3 times the pay. So legit just moved into the space, and I'm like, okay, I mean, if I have to do the same work, why not earn more at it? And when that happened, when I entered the space in 2021, there were very few women. And Super Team, which is a really big and which was a really coveted community in this space right now, also works as a marketing engine for Solana, one of the biggest, probably the 3rd biggest ecosystem in this space, was coming up. And they were doing a lot of events, and I would end up at events. And now I'm an extroverted person, so I don't particularly face that challenge to approach people and talk to them and engage in conversations. But there were some eye rolls. It would happen that, okay, there are 4 of us or 5 of us in a group talking, and I wouldn't really get that share of attention from people. And I'm like, okay, this isn't making sense. Initially, I thought maybe because I'm not a techie, because this is a very tech-first field, blockchain as such. Okay. Or maybe because I'm really young, haven't really worked as much and all. But then at one point I realized, okay, maybe it's also because I'm a woman there. And I'm not really taken to be this person who understands tech, or at least the logic of it. I'm always put in a silo where I'm like, oh, women are good in marketing and content and brand. That's about it. And then one of those days, I just got in a beautiful place in HSR, and I'm like, oh, I've got this page, this porch. Why don't I just invite a few women? And then I sent out 40 RSVP. Literally the only 40 women that I knew and across the space. VC, legal, tech, marketing, everyone. And then 39 of those turned up. Wow. Which was the first indication that, okay, women want it. Maybe nobody's just taking this initiative. And then somebody at that event coined, it's not even me who coined the name Superwomen. I don't know who has. Somebody just said that, oh, Super Team's doing really well and we should all be called Superwomen. And I just put that as the name of the WhatsApp group. And then that was the start of it. Then we realized that, okay, women want it, other people want it. And this is not just a diversity thing. It's also that it's such a new field. When I have built those friendships first, it's easier for me to work with them, to learn with them. That now I think, okay, we've met each other physically, we've talked about random things now. I could say that, okay, we're friends. And now for me to work with Rudra, or for me to ask things or learn from her, it's going to be a lot more easier. And it was just that. So that literally is the objective that Superwoman started with, and that's literally the objective that we still keep doubling down on. So can we get people introduced?
Do women really help each other? I let
Yeah, I'll tell you that there are sides of it. I mean, I have made controversial things, and then people have quoted me on Twitter, and then I've also gotten my fair share of heat from that. But yes, I think women have this women are risk averse. I mean, that's known across spaces in life, professional life, personal life, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So, women actually overthink a lot, women rethink a lot of things. And the one solid support that I have seen one woman can give to the other is that, hey, it doesn't matter that this is a new field or this is extremely male dominated. You can make this happen. You can do it. Let me start with making the first introduction for you. Let me start with giving you the first shout out on Twitter. Let me start with adding you to this community where I have gotten a lot of value from. So I think these really small things of
Go a long
support,
way.
yeah, they go a long way, and that's something that a lot of women are very comfortable doing. Now, there are of course different aspects. You know, there's this another thing that happens is where I'm like, hey, I'm a woman, you're a woman, and you will just walk the entire way for me. That won't really happen. There have been women who have approached me that, hey, can you just refer me for this thing? And I'm like, just apply first, give me your email, and then I'll send them the email that this is a candidate that you should look at. But just because you are a woman and I've built Superwomen and we're part of the same community doesn't mean that I can just go and say that, look at this person.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, everyone should be getting equal opportunity, but after a point, it's just a thing about merit. So that's
Definitely makes
one
sense.
thing where a lot of women have ended up asking for more than what I could give at that point. Or any other woman.
I think that's fine. I mean, there's a fine line of, वो बोलते हैं ना कि if I'm giving you my finger, you don't need to hold my hand.
Yes. So I think on the pretext of this whole women for women, that became a thing.
Got it. So, I mean, community is more, you need to make the person feel belong there. It's very much hard work, right? You keep on giving them content that is more valuable to them. You make introductions that are going to foster for them. What is that one underrated skill for you that you feel that, hey, listen, community game or where I'm working with clients to build their communities, I've cracked it.
Got it. I mean, it depends, right? There are skills when it comes to platforms related to community. There are skills related to how content you're putting out. But I think if one thing that really I think I've cracked is being that one person who actually starts and starts the conversations and understands the sentiments well. And there's no matrix that I can provide or stats that say, okay, that this was that one time where I really understood the sentiment well. But the space that I work in, Web3, it's extremely ever-evolving, right? One day you have this narrative, second day it could be something else. And it's also a space where a lot of emotions, it has a massive spectrum of emotions. One day someone's token has pumped 100x, they'll be really happy. Web3 is it's literally the God created field and all of those things, and then it dumps 100%. Oh my God, it's a scam, it's rug pulls and this and that. So I think really understanding the sentiment when you're starting to build a community or when you have built one, even if they're just 50 people, how do you balance that out? Because there's this one person who's constantly complaining and there's this one person who's just new and trying to understand the space. Now, if you don't moderate the conversation really well as a community builder or an admin, this person's negative view are going to form the views for this new person. So I think really understanding that sentiment has helped me. That okay, there's this one person with this viewpoint and there's this another person. How do I drive the conversation right between them? And make sure that none of them go back with a negative feeling
connotations.
Yes. So I think that's
for everybody who's watching this and for me as well, right? What's the difference between Web 2 and Web 3?
Yeah. So how I'll say this is Web 1. So you remember the era where when you would go on a computer, probably you don't remember it, maybe neither do I, but our parents, if I didn't have computer at that point, but those who did, they would go on a computer and they would just be able to read, right? You wouldn't be able to type anything, a keyboard wouldn't be required. So that was the Web 1 era where you were digitally reading things, read. Then second came where, okay, you could also write. Facebook happened that, okay, now I have a way to put things out. I can publish a blog, I can put out a comment. So then it became read and write. Then after a point we realized that, hey, you're creating this podcast on Instagram. But do you really own this podcast right now? If Instagram decides to shut it one day, you don't own it. you are reading, people are reading through it, you are writing on it, comments and everything. Then this movement of owning, wanting to own the assets, wanting to own our own data came in, where we said that okay, internet is the base layer on which everything digital is built on. Now why don't we create a parallel internet layer, which is a blockchain as a technology, where all of these applications will get built again, which is decentralized applications, dApps. So now you can read on it, you can write on it, but you can also own it. That if I create a piece of work and I convert it into an NFT, there is no way, because it's on a blockchain, even if someone decides, OpenSea or whatever, it's an NFT marketplace, decides to shut down, my art exists. I don't lose it. It still has value. And I can go and trade it someplace else. So this is the difference largely between Web 2 and Web 3, that you can do a lot of similar functions, but asset ownership, data ownership differ. Then there are lots of technology related differences, which we could go on to.
No, that
podcast part 2.
Yeah, but for someone who doesn't understand the importance of our data today, right? So whatever we interact or whatever we speak, or even the slightest post or anything we put, guys, it's sticking to a server back in the owner of that particular app. For example, Meta, right, holds everything, right? And that's why what she said is really important, that the ownership aspect is now getting questioned. That, hey, Meta, you're using my content to make money for yourself. You decide where you're showing my content. And literally, I made that content, so where are my rights?
Yeah.
And that's where Web3 is taking that power away. That's really nice. But where's AI coming? So, in my understanding, AI is something which is somewhere centralizing a lot of stuff, like with OpenAI and what Google is doing, etc. But Web3 is literally decentralizing it. So are these guys like going together? Is it like, are they like frenemies, or what is it?
So, see, if you think about it, AI is centralizing in some aspects, but also decentralizing, right? Because now you have so much power to do so many things on your own. Right? Okay. Probably a month or like a year ago, you would need to go to Canva to get your designs and everything done. But the latest frenzy with the Ghibli studio and everything that you've seen, people can actually create a lot of design on their own. So now what has happened in this process is that the middleman, which was there, and a very helpful middleman at that, I mean, I love Canva, is sort of out of the picture. Now you have a lot more power, a lot more resources at your end to create. But of course, it's also decentralizing a lot of things in a way that one entity will get so much data.
Exactly.
You're literally talking to your AI or to ChatGPT or to DeepSeek more intimately than even to your boyfriend. I mean, I'm like, hey, good morning, thank you, sorry, everything. All the emotions are there in my conversations when I'm talking to them. The thing that where they really come together is look at crypto as the currency, like as the form of money. AI will have a lot of privacy concerns going forward, right? Hey, was this content created by AI or not? Now, where blockchain really comes in is because it's a lot to do with ownership, a lot to do with content and assets on blockchain. Now, you can actually go and check that if this was created by AI, it would be on a separate blockchain. If this was created by you, it would probably be related to your place, your wallet. It will have that metadata now. So that blockchain supports the biggest concern that AI brings, which is deepfake and privacy issues, if you can give it a space on the blockchain. So I think that's where they really go well together. Then there are other aspects about, they're both very remote first global technologies. They both help a lot of people create and do a lot of things on their own. Blockchain supports you to create tokens. Hey, you're like, I want to create a piece of art and I want to create a token of my own, and I actually want to create an ecosystem where I'm able to sell my art, get money for it, all of that. AI also does that, where it helps you create that art better. So they're actually closer to being friends than being frenemies or enemies as such. But there are other differences as well. I mean, there are things which blockchain promotes as a philosophy and AI doesn't. But it's so nascent. Both of these technologies are globally very nascent for us to figure out, hey, what part of our lives will they fit in. But I don't see them as AI versus Web3.
It's together.
The best result will come out AI plus Web3.
What has Dubai seen, or say UAE seen, so differently in Web3 that India is not seeing, or do you think India is also seeing in the same way?
India also is, but the way our governments work is a little bit different, right? We're very, very democratic, like on the far extent of democracy as compared to them. So a lot of things are not centralized decisions in terms of when you want to grow any ecosystem. Dubai has largely been that hey, okay, we want to build this tourism hub. They take it as that one
baby and then
just
full
throttle on that. India doesn't really do that. The second thing is the sort of regulations related to income and how capital gains work have been different. Dubai did not have an income tax, still doesn't for salaried people. It's only for enterprises now. India has had it for a while now. And then regarding crypto, we never really put out any clarity. We did put out a virtual digital asset act, but Dubai actually made it very clear that how do you operate in this country, when you're gaining money, what happens. A lot of OTC desks where crypto is converted to fiat and fiat back to crypto were operating out of Dubai. So it was a lot of government push, just a lot of migration happening from the West for a number of reasons back to Dubai and to the larger Asia subcontinent. And then also because of the people who were already there, because trading in commodities and all was happening already so much, whether it be gold or bullions or... So these mechanisms for OTC existed as opposed to India.
But India, maybe we have ONDC, right? That's basically am I correct, right? Like ONDC is a decentralized platform for...
So ONDC is... So there's nothing decentralized in the world right now. Everything is only progressively decentralized. Where we say that, hey...
What do you mean by decentralized for people who are watching this?
So decentralized essentially in laywoman words, what it means is that whatever decision, your data, your privacy, anything that you own, and the decision-making power over your data, your ownership or your assets remains with you. There are no middlemen in the system, and there's no centralized entity that's taking decisions for you or holding your assets or calling the shots for you, essentially. That's what decentralized.
So, for example, if we hold banks, as in, I think that's coming to me, right? So today, if not even banks, suppose RBI and the banks, the only two parties who have control over the money and the flow of money in any economy, or just for the sake of it, India. So you're saying in a decentralized system, they won't exist?
They will still exist. I mean, in an ideal utopian decentralized mechanism, they won't. But since I'm saying we're going progressively decentralized, they do exist. It's just that the sort of power that they have through currency over the economy of a country will be a lot less, because when you're building decentralized systems, the idea is that, okay, there are stable coins which govern the currency prices, but more people can actually create currencies. All of these tokens, crypto tokens that you have, it is something that you can trade or barter an object for, which essentially is the historical definition of currency. So the fungible element of it, that hey, your $100 bill, my $100 bill, it's the same in value. But your asset, your painting, art, whatever, may not be same as mine. So the fungible currency value remains that.
So you were talking about how it's very important to have a community here, but I've seen more often Web3 is way more community driven right now. And why do you think, what are the three things why you feel that a community is very important? One, you told me that they want to feel belonged, right? What other than that?
So basically, a lot of projects, like the biggest person in Web3, Satoshi Nakamoto, nobody knows who he is or what his credibility is or where he came from, right? Now he built Bitcoin. A lot of such projects are there in this space. Who lends them credibility? In Web2, a big organization which will have a website and everything. Here, the token holders will lend them the credibility. So,
the more people having it,
the more
credible you are.
Yeah, the more credible you are, the more people will speak about it. It's not a space, I mean, in Web3, so like Web2, where performance marketing takes the #1 spot in terms of all marketing verticals.
Yes.
We can't do performance marketing. We can't run ads on Instagram or Facebook or even Twitter for that matter. Twitter, a little bit you can, but they'll be very limited. Now I don't have performance marketing.
Why can't you run ads?
Because it's a space which doesn't have regulations. So and it also is a space where there can be masked financial advisors. People can lose money, so the government doesn't allow that. And because of that, the ad publishers can't do it. So now, how do you build a brand? because I can't reach new people. So and Twitter is actually that mechanism which takes the number one place when it comes to building a brand in Web3 or marketing and all of that. With platforms like that, I need evangelizers. I need advocates. I need people who believe in me and will constantly talk about me. That's where I will actually capture a mind share and a prolonged mind share in the mind of my users. So that's why community becomes extremely important. That hey, if Rudra is my token holder or if she's a contributor in my project, I need her to speak for me, because when she does, other people will listen, they will see, and that's where the
chain effect will happen.
Yeah.
But as a woman, right, today, even before we join any community or go and meet people from that community, we are a little skeptical. अभी तो सब कुछ anonymity पे चल रहा है, right? What would be your advice to women who are joining communities or something like that? What are the checks that you feel every woman should do before, so that they don't get scammed, they don't indulge with people that are not good there?
Got it. I mean, there are lots of things, honestly, because scams happen across platforms, right? It could happen through a Twitter DM. It could happen through your wallet getting drained. It could happen through you just randomly buying into a token where the founder rug pulled. So one thing that I would say is, most importantly, don't be in a rush. This is an industry that sort of forces you, or puts you in this constant urgency to act and have to be terminally online and have to be terminally trading and all of those things. Don't do that. Because that puts you in a situation where your decision making sort of takes a backseat. But I'm like, oh my god, it's so urgent for me to trade right now. It's so urgent for me to buy into this because then it'll pump or dump or whatever. I'm prone to make more mistakes then. So I think never be in a rush. Other thing is, make sure that you are creating wallets on good platform, or good wallets essentially, so to say a MetaMask wallet or a Trust wallet, wallets that actually have, because you're a newbie coming into this space, yes, in all capacity try out new products, but when you're just entering in and wallet is a place where you're going to keep your money, make sure you actually make a wallet which is used by most people. Go for amongst the top 5 wallets, a MetaMask or a Trust or a Phantom. Because that's where a lot of hacks, a lot of wallet token draining happens. Second thing is, of course, do you do your own research, because what might work for me may not work for you, because my trading investment thesis will be a lot different from you. Should know that, hey, I am okay investing and putting in this much money. That should also be the money that I'm ready to lose. I mean, as long as I can go with that philosophy that if I'm okay to lose $1,000, only that's the amount of money that you put in crypto right now, because this space is extremely volatile.
And it's
nobody can say what needs to be done. Third thing is, just do not click on any random link, because what happens is your wallets probably will have extensions on desktop and everything. The moment you click a link, you are exposing yourself to just back-end integrations. So not on Twitter DMs, anyone sending you a random meeting link, don't click on it. That's like a standard thing that we have, that even if a lot of people were sending CVs in link formats, because Twitter doesn't allow you to send documents in DMs. Oh my god, like thousands of dollars of scam happened just on that, where people were like, hey, this is my CV, they would send a random link and then
this is scary. There are 3 questions that I want to ask you, right? Number 1 is, when you said that Web3 pays you more than Web2, how many X or how much percentage more?
I mean, if you're a trader, it could be X, 100X, 1000X, 20,000X.
As a techie.
It's a token pumping. I would say it's easily 1.5X.
Okay.
And that's a conservative
estimate.
Yes. So because it's just a function of having lesser people in this space, that they get paid a lot more. Yes.
So anybody who wants to, say, get into Web3, right? So what according to you should they do?
Also depending on what their profile is. If they're a techie, the first thing that I would recommend is, hey, go just read the Bitcoin white paper and read the white papers of some of the most essential and widely used protocols that are out there. So you understand the logic behind the technology, that hey, why is this working like this? What is a layer 1? What is a layer 2? What is a layer 3? What is a roll up? All of those things. That would be first thing. And again, for a techie, the second thing would be go and attempt a bounty. Now, it doesn't have to be where you're building a full-fledged project. A bounty could be something as simple as just a good first contribution where you just go improve someone's technical documentation or make a correction in a code. So something like that. And bounties actually in Web3 pay you really well. Super Team Earn is a platform you could go and do that. Bounty Caster is another platform. Questbook is a platform. For non-techies, what I would recommend is please first of all make a good Twitter profile, because that's where a lot of narratives are driven. Even before it makes it to news and blogs and everything else, it's out there on Twitter.
Wow.
So many trends, so many conversations are driven there. Start speaking your mind. Don't worry how many followers you have or how much of a fool you're going to make of yourself. Just go and start putting content out there. Start showing that okay, I am either in this space or I'm learning about this space, because people appreciate folks who are just entering it, and literally every protocol is going after and wanting to onboard these new users. That'd be first thing, creating a Twitter profile and starting to build. Second thing again would be similar bounties. If you're a content person, go attempt a content bounty. If you're a marketer, go attempt a marketing bounty. Sort of create a small quest. Try to create a case study. Try to create some solutions that okay, this is how it can be marketed. I mean, rather than straight up going and taking up a job from Web 2 to Web 3, I always recommend people that don't leave your Web 2 job. Just take out 1 hour of your time. Also don't go and just randomly attempt or take courses. Yes, take courses, but that should be ancillary learning, not your primary learning. Your primary learning should be doing it. The motto of Web 3 is building in public, and I think the motto for new people should be doing it and learning. So yeah.
That's very well said. So ma'am, how are you in this scary world which is so supremely male dominated? You are like not a techie per se, but you know so much about this. You're building a community which is one of the most like largest right now. That also with women. Aditi, where are you getting this energy? What is keeping you motivated? How do you, look at this man. What is your mantra?
There is none is the mantra that I have. I have no guiding principle. So essentially I'm this person who just does whatever she wants at any point of time.
Okay, so this is my favorite part, okay? This is where we have this rapid fire round with you. So the first question is, what is the mission statement of your community?
Yes, of Superwomen DAO, our idea is that we want to help women get at the forefront of Web3, not just enter Web3, but also climb the ladders and keep climbing those ladders in this space.
Beautiful. Which is the worst advice you've ever received?
The advice that I received was that don't do unpaid work or don't do work for your friends who are not paying you, because it's a new field, it's a new technology, and I need as many people as I can have on my side. So, helping people with small things without really looking at a consulting invoice does help, and it goes a long way.
Connections go a long way.
Yes, not just network with them, but do something for them. Make that introduction for them, even if they haven't asked for it, but you feel that they need it. Give them a shout out if they haven't particularly asked for it. Some people told me that, don't do this because, you can command monetary value out of it. And I'm like, no. I have my primary job to take care of my bread and butter, but I want to go out of my way and do these things.
What motivates you? Money, power, or it's something else?
I think it would be at the intersection would be fame. Fame, not in a way that I want to be really, really popular amongst crores of people, but I want to be someone known in at least 1,000 people who are doing the same work and have the same mindset.
Yeah, you are very, very known. Lastly, what's keeping you up nowadays? Like, what's next for Aditi?
Next is I literally joining my new job starting in the next 3 days. I am also building a sports and recreational games related community which just crossed 1,000 members last week.
Congratulations.
So now we're looking at some partnerships and all. And I'm excited. I am excited to invest in some money and resources and experiment and execute the plans that I have for that one. Apart from Web3. That's the only aspect of my life which is out of Web3 right now.
That's nice.
So that's exciting.
Tell me this. How do people earn through communities? Like the people in the community, of course, benefit with each other. How does the head or the person who's building the community earn through it?
So it depends. So when community starts, on day one, it will always be a burn engine rather than an earn engine, right? But if you've created enough value, if you've created enough exclusivity in that community, now that value could be through content, that value could be through connections, that value could be through any sort of value-added services that you're giving. First would be subscriptions, very simply, like Web2, Web3 works the same way that, hey, now I have this community of members and I can actually charge them. In a subscription model or in a one-time membership fee or whatever for the value that I'm giving. Second way that I can earn through a community is by ticketing of sorts, which is not subscription, which is like, say, I have built a community, I'm doing events. Now I can sell tickets for it if I'm doing different formats of activities and all of that.
You become like their community partner.
Yes. And then the third way would be pooling in. I mean, if it's an investment community, largely a lot of DAOs. So people buy services or anything, or they stake their money into a treasury, and then investors or the community managers essentially manage that treasury and grow it and give returns back to the community. So you want to part through that.
Beautiful. I think I've got like this. I'm interested in Web3 now. I don't know about you guys. And I really want to know what's going to be after, say, like blockchain, of course, crypto, the next buzzword that we have heard. We also heard NFTs, etc. But I think it's evolving and it's just the start. And women are leading it this time. So that's amazing. Thank you so much, Aditi, Thank you so much, Aditi, for being here and giving us this gist. All women, please. Whoever has little bit also interest in Web3 should join the community.
Superwomen DAO,
yes. And this time, let's just outpace these men in this industry, right? Let's do that.
Literally the easiest thing to do right now. I mean, we just have to be women and we'll outpace them.
Yes.
Just be the confident, not even overconfident, but we operate in this underconfident state.
So. Yeah. Perfect.